This is Aloha Sunday, and on every Aloha Sunday in this spiritual community, we always take a look at some beautiful Hawaiian spiritual saying. These sayings were collected in a wonderful book by Dr. Mary Kavenapukui. We look at those sayings and we find that beautiful place of intersection between the truth that the ancient Hawaiians and the old people of these lands knew and talked about and loved, and the spiritual truths that we know. We do that in part so that we can feel more connected with this people and the land here, and we can also feel grounded in this beautiful place in which we live. The phrase that we're looking at today is this one: Ka hauli o ka mea hewa'ole, he nalowale koke. Now bear with me and we'll go through what this means. This is your Hawaiian language lesson 101. Ka means the, hauli means a bruise. O ka mea is a phrase that refers to a person, and then heva is a negative thing, like a falsehood or an untrue thing, and ole is a negative suffix. So hewa'ole means a truthful person, no false person, an innocent person, if you will. Nalowale means to disappear or to vanish, and koke means quickly. So we're going to put all that together. It works better if you study it for a couple of years, but right now we've only got a minute and a half. So trust me that Dr. Pukui gives us a wonderful English translation, which is this: a bruise inflicted upon an innocent person vanishes quickly. It's a powerful saying. It says sort of that if you are an innocent person, then any wrong that's done to you is going to just fall away. You understand? And that's a beautiful thing to know. It's beautiful. It almost fits with that little childhood saying, which was sometimes true: sticks and stones can break my bones and words can never hurt me, la la la. However, I don't know if that's really true or not. It almost fits with the I'm rubber and you're glue, everything you say bounce off me and sticks to you. We try to give these little wisdom things to children, but this one is even more deeply true than those. If you are an innocent person, then any bruise inflicted upon you is not going to happen. That's great. So now, here's the question, and don't raise your hands. Who among us is the innocent? Yeah? If you grew up in this culture, most of us that grew up in this culture have been taught that we are not innocent. If you grew up in the traditional Judaic Christian culture, you were not taught that you were an innocent person. You were taught that you were a sinner. See, Mimi, I told you I was going to talk about sin today. She says, you never talk about sin. Oh, yes, we do. If you grew up in this culture like me and like most people, that's what you were taught. We were taught that, and we were given scripture and verse where it was. If you were brought up in the Muslim culture, you are taught pretty much the same kind of thing. A lot of cultures around the world teach us that that is sort of the starting place for our existence in this world. Now, I want you to imagine how really damaging that is. In fact, a lot of social science research has shown that our opinion of ourselves really impacts the way that we end up growing up in life. You understand that? What I want you to know, and I really want you to believe and understand this powerful truth, is the things that we do in this life are not indicative of who we are. They are indicative of who we think we are. They are not who we really are, but who we think we are. And who we think we are can be very damaging. This is a piece of research that shows that low self-esteem is the underlying origin of all problematic behaviors and the true disease that plagues the world, resulting in alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and all other obsessive behavior, including criminal behavior. This was done by John Candido, a social science researcher. It's quoted all over the world as foundational truth. It was a meta-analysis of all of the studies on low self-esteem. And you know this must be true. Imagine if you had a small child and you told them from the day they were born, you are awful, you are a miserable person, you are a no good human being. Then that little child, when they grow up, what are they going to be? They're going to be a miserable human being. They're going to think, this is who I am, this is what I have to be. This is what we have all been collectively taught, most of us, in many ways throughout the world. So how can we claim this Hawaiian phrase to be true, that if we are innocent, we aren't going to be bruised. Well, the truth is we get bruised all the time because we don't believe we're innocent. So what I would present to you today is this. You don't raise your hand again, but who's got some suffering going on at the hands of something? We all do. We all are having these issues and these challenges. And wouldn't it be wonderful if they would be gone? I'm going to give you that today, an opportunity for you to have them be gone. Because I want you to know how absolutely innocent you really are at the core of your being. This innocence is talked about and hinted in the Course in Miracles. It says, if you will accept yourself as God created you, you will be incapable of suffering. How powerful is that? So that your next question might be, well, so great. Then A, how did God create me? And B, how can I accept it? Guess what I'm going to give you today? A and B. I want you to know how you were created. And I want to show you some way that you can begin to accept that, so that there will be no more suffering, so that if there are any bruises, they will quickly fade away from you in your life. Jesus talks about this truth to a certain degree in the Gospel of John. He's actually quoting a scripture that shows up in the book of Psalms, where it says, my decree, this is God speaking now, my decree is, you are Elohim, which is a Hebrew word meaning God. You are Elohim, sons of the Most High, all of you. This is where Jesus in the Gospel of John says, don't you know that you are gods? Now, this is not a verse that I heard quoted in my Christian church very often, and I doubt whether those of you in other Christian churches heard it very often either. But Jesus kept referring to the divinity of the people he was surrounded by. Because in Jewish tradition, we were created in the image and likeness of God. So there's that divinity that is in all people. This is not strictly a Christian idea either. If you were Hindu, they would call it the Atman. It's a traditional belief in many, many cultures outside of ours that that divinity, that innocence of who we are, is already inherently in us. This is from a Hindu writer that wrote a book called the Introduction to Hinduism. He says, Atman is the immortal aspect of the mortal existence, the self, which is kind of like the soul. It is hidden in every object of creation, including man. It is Brahman itself. Now, Brahman in the Hindu tradition is that spirit essence of ultimate God. It is Brahman, its very self, which descends down into the elements of nature through self-projection. And here's my favorite part, participates in the game of self-induced illusion and pure delight. That's what life is. Self-induced delusion and pure delight. And I would really hope that we can begin to look at life as that way, as a self-induced delusion. It's an illusion, and it's for delight. One of the things that someone said to me once, I thought was powerful, is that they would say, well, why would God want to be in people anyway? I said, well, this is how God experiences the world, through us. If we think God is a spirit, let me ask you this. Can God as a spirit taste Zippy's chili? Huh? I'd hate to be God and miss that experience. It's fantastic. Well, God can if it's manifested through us. By God's Spirit being in us, then God gets to know the great joy of human touch. God gets to know how sweet a kiss is. God gets to know what Zippy's chili is. God gets to play. God gets to feel the wind. How great is that? That's how God can experience the tremendous creation, this delightful illusion that was made for us. There's a TV show that I like to watch, and I will confess that I do like to watch it. It's called On Being Human. It has in it, okay, this is very telling, it has a vampire, a werewolf, and a ghost. Yeah, kind of eclectic. And they're roommates in a house. And they're trying to live like normal people, normal entities. And which is the fascinating part, and the part that's relevant here, is that the girl is a ghost. They're all young people, and she was killed in the house. She's a ghost, and her frustration is that she can't touch anything. She can't move anything. She can't taste anything. She can hear people, but she can't hug them. She can't touch them. She can't turn a page in a magazine. She's reading a newspaper. She has to snap her fingers, and somebody has to come over and turn the page for her because she can't really interface with the world. And it's this ongoing frustration. And I'm thinking sometimes that's part of what God must be feeling somehow when God is in us and wanting to experience the world. And it's frustrating because sometimes we won't turn the page. Yeah? I mean, I can just feel it. I can see a whole little scenario where God's in us and God is saying, hey, why don't you go ahead and hug that person? No, I'm not going to hug that person. Come on, I want to hug that person. No, I'm not going to hug that person. God goes, come on, I want to give him some love. No, I'm not going to do it. I mean, I can imagine if God could be frustrated, that would be frustrating. But see, that's part of the joy of knowing that we are that divinity expressing through us, because that's who we are. How can we know who we really are? It's a difficult question. And how can we find that true self? And more importantly, then how can we be it? Because once we know it, we will begin acting from that instead of what we think we are. All right? If we can act from who we really are instead of who we think we are, it's going to change the world. And it's not an easy thing, I know, to do. Paramahansa Yogananda tells a wonderful, kind of a silly story in the Hindu tradition about how a man was trying to find God, find where God was. Now, in the Hindu tradition, they of course have the same concept we do of an ultimate God, but their God also manifests as little lesser deities that are all aspects of God, and they focus on these lesser deities. And it was very confusing for this little man. There were so many books to read, and each one seemed to be different, and there were just so many little gods, he didn't know what to do. So he was sitting on the bank of the Ganges River, and he was just crying because he didn't know which one was really God. And a saint was walking by, and the saint said, what's the matter? The guy says, I can't find God, I don't know which one it is, and I can't find which book, I don't know what to do. And the saint said, close your eyes, pick a book, and that will be your book. And then I want you to take all these different idols and smash them on the rock, and whichever one doesn't break, that is the most powerful one, and that will be your God. And the man was so grateful, thank you. So he picked the book, and that was his book. And then he took all the idols and he threw them, and he found one. They were all clay and they broke, but one was made of stone. And it didn't break. And he goes, oh, this is the one. So he took it home, and they all have these little altars, and he put it in his little altar, and he had his book, and he was very, very happy. And every day he would set food in front of his idol, and he would pray, and he was very happy, he was on his way. And every morning the food would be disappeared, and he thought, how nice, I'm feeding my God, it's so lovely. And then one day he decided he was going to kind of just watch the idol eat. He wanted to see how the God ate the food. So he's meditating, and he looks to kind of just watch the food. And he saw this little mouse come out and pick up the food and start to run off. He goes, this is a mouse. And so he grabs the mouse and he says, you've been eating my food. You are more powerful than my God. You will be my God. So he tied the mouse to the mantelpiece, took away the idol, and now he had his God because it was more powerful. And he says, oh, that's the God, that's the mouse. And so he was meditating, and then he's so happy, and he starts hearing this commotion, and he opens his eyes, and here is a cat who has eaten half of his God. Hey, the cat is going. So he grabs the cat and goes, now you're more powerful than my God. You will be my God. And he puts the cat on the mantelpiece, and he brings the cat milk every day, and he's very happy because now he knows God is in the cat. God is most powerful in the cat, and he's reading his book, and he's meditating, bringing milk to the cat every day, and the cat's getting nice and fat. One day, his wife notices that when he's in meditation, the cat is crawling down and drinking his milk too. And the wife is angry about this. So she takes a broom and she starts swatting at the cat. And he opens his eyes and he sees that the wife is scaring the cat and beating the cat up. And he goes, my wife is more powerful than the cat. My wife must be where God is. And so he takes the wife and he puts her up on the altar. And now he's back here and he's worshiping his wife because now she's the presence of God. And he's very, very happy. And of course his wife is sitting up here. She has housework to do. She's got meals to prepare, so here she is being the idol. Well, she gets down every once in a while and fixes the food and takes care of him. And one day she's fixing the food and he's eating his rice and he finds a piece of charcoal in his rice. And he says, wife, why is there charcoal in my rice? What have you done? She goes, oh, but I'm so sorry. She said, I only do all these things just to serve you. And he goes, you to serve me? You serving me? Then I must be the God. I must be the presence of God. And so he goes and sits upon the altar, and all the gods began to clap because he had finally found the truth. It's kind of a silly little story, but it tells that great search that we all are on, always looking for the most powerful presence of God somewhere. And the point of it is, it's always right here. So if you can believe and acknowledge that it's always right there, you can also say, yeah, but I don't know how to find it, I don't know where it is, and that's what this part is about. I want to go through some things for you. Number one. You're not surprised, are you? This is the key to all of your growth. This is the key to every expansion of your consciousness. This is the key to everything. Meditate. You say, well, I don't know how much. I'm not going to tell you how much. I'm not going to tell you how or where. I am just going to tell you this is where it begins. If you really want to know the truth, this is where it is. So I'm going to ask you to commit to a practice of regular meditation. Now, it could be, I don't care if you start with 1 minute a day, or 2 minutes a day, or 3 minutes a day. If it's regular, it will begin to grow and expand. That's my request for you. When you do this, when you commit to these practices, what will happen is you will become awakened to the true essence of your nature, and you will become unbruisable, and you will become free of all challenges. See, that's the point. There will be no more suffering if you can know who you really are, and this is where it begins. So will you join me and say this together? I commit to a practice of regular meditation. Okay, good. I'm not going to test you later, but this is the practice. Number 2. Accept failure and sin as part of our refining process. You see, all those things mean is when we do these things, when we slip up somewhere, all we have to do is say, wow, that's what I definitely do not want. And life is just as much knowing what we don't want as it is knowing what we do want. It's half of our education. So when these things happen, we need to just accept that that's what they are. They are part of a learning process. And so what I invite you to do is to find the lesson within it. So here's your affirmation. I find lessons for me within every event within my life. Okay? Let's say it together. I find lessons for me within every event in my life. Okay, good. So there are opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow. Give yourself permission to change. As we grow and our consciousness changes, as we become more aware, we may say, you know what, I don't want that anymore. I may have to even change the people that I hang out with. I may have to stop hanging out with those people because they're so negative and they gossip or they talk. I may have to change. Give ourselves permission to do that. So it's very simple. I give myself permission to change. It's really good. Let's say it together. I give myself permission to change. Good. Now this last one's kind of weird. Journal? What is that? Most every great program I know that involves us restructuring our life has a component of journaling. Journaling basically means you're just going to write things down. Now that's important because our brains are constantly spinning like this. And when we write them down, we organize our thoughts to where we can make sense out of them. And you're laughing because, yeah, we know we have this problem. Making sense out of what we think. So journaling, I'm not going to tell you how much. I'm not going to tell you how. I'm not going to say when. That's up to you. You do it what is comfortable. But that's the commitment. I commit to a process of journaling for whatever's right for you. Together, I commit to a process of journaling. Good. Then I'm going to ask you to reflect at the end of each day. When the day is done, look back and say, okay, good. How did I do? How was I really me throughout this day? Or was I something else? And did I screw up? Great. What did I learn from that? Have I written about it? Good. Am I meditating? Okay, it's a very simple checklist to go through. This is how we find out who we are. So the reflection is, I commit to daily reflection. Can you try it? Let's do it. I commit to daily reflection. We're doing it all the time in our own way. And guess what the last one is? Again. I put it in here again because I cannot overemphasize how important this simple practice is to change your life. I commit to a practice of regular meditation. One more time. I commit to a practice of regular meditation. One of the great founders of this thing we call New Thought is a woman named Mary Baker Eddy. She was the founder of the Christian Science Church. And she talks about what happens if we start doing this kind of work. She says that self-renunciation of all that constitutes a so-called material man and the acknowledgement and achievement of his spiritual identity, that's what we're talking about today, your spiritual identity, as the child of God, opens the very floodgates of heaven, whence good flows into every avenue of being, cleansing mortals of all uncleanness, destroying all suffering, and demonstrating the true meaning of the image and likeness. You see all the good stuff that happens when we know our spiritual identity, and it is our choice. The Course in Miracles says it like this: choose once again what you would have yourself be, remembering that every choice you make establishes your own identity as you see it and as you believe it to be. So the way we are in the world is a result of our choices of who we are going to believe we are. And I invite you today to believe and to know that you are a beloved expression of God. Will you close your eyes with me for just a moment, please? It's been a lot of stuff to think about, but it basically is foundational to who we are in the world, and it's foundational to who you are. It is the truth of who you are. And my invitation is for you to live from that truth. We do it by connecting with God like we are right now in this meditation, in this simple time of togetherness. In this time of connection, feel the great love that there is for you. Feel that oneness with the Spirit of God that is in you. There are no other idols to find. It is right there in you, now, in this moment. Rest in that truth as we come to God in the sacred and holy silence.